It's precisely 6:15. This is the news on Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. News is edited by Anjana Dodamgoda, read by Sabrina Zawahir. The headlines. The President highlights Theravada Buddhism's solutions for modern world challenges. President Ranil Wickremesinghe said regardless of race, religion, caste or political affiliations, all Sri Lankans must unite to heal and rebuild the country. The Prime Minister inaugurates State Vesak Festival in Matale. The Cabinet approves salary increase for Gramaniladaris. War heroes living in war hero villages to receive land deeds under Urumea program. New regulations to make uncultivated land productive. And in world news, 9 killed in Mexico stage collapse at campaign event. And in sports, Darshana Kalinga edge closer to Olympic qualifying standards. Now the local news in detail. President Ranil Wickremesinghe underscored the significance of Theravada Buddhism in addressing the challenges posed by a world rapidly advancing in science and technology. Speaking at the state Vesak ceremony held at the Dharmaraja Piriven Vihare in Matale, virtually this morning, President Wickremesinghe stressed the importance of preserving the true essence of Theravada Buddhism and sharing its wisdom with the world. Although President Wickremesinghe was scheduled to participate in the state Vesak ceremony in person, adverse weather conditions prevented his attendance. Instead, he joined the state Vesak ceremony virtually and extended his wishes to all Buddhists for a meaningful Vesak celebration. The State Vesak Festival was inaugurated with the blessing of the Mahasangha under the patronage of Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, with the participation of foreign envoys including ambassadors, ministers and MPs and government officials at Dharmaraja Piriven Temple in Matale. The State Vesak Festival this year is being held centering the Matale district under the theme, "Let's focus on what we have done, not what others have done." The period from 21st to 27th of May has been declared Vesak Week. This year's festival is particularly special as Buddhist monks from 12 countries have arrived to participate in the State Vesak Festival, emphasizing the global significance and unity in celebrating this sacred event. Simultaneously, development efforts for over 25 temples in the district have commenced, with labour contributions from the armed forces and the civil defence force. Cabinet approval has been granted to increase the salaries and allowances of more than 13,000 Gramaniladaris, and accordingly the draft of the service constitution has been submitted for the approval of the Public Service Commission to establish the Sri Lanka Gramaniladari Service. Home Affairs State Minister Ashoka Priyantha revealed this yesterday in Parliament on behalf of the State Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government Minister. He was responding to a query by National People's Power Leader Anura Kumara Disanayaka under Standing Order 27/2. This news is brought to you by Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Continuing local news, President Ranil Wickremesinghe announced the implementation of a new program aimed at improving the living conditions of retired security forces members. The President highlighted that in the absence of a dedicated program, some veterans have faced difficult situations. Consequently, the President has directed the State Minister of Defence, the Defence Ministry and the Ranaviru Seva Authority to give special attention to this matter. President Wickremesinghe made this statement yesterday during the inauguration of the headquarters complex of the Sri Lanka Ex-Servicemen's Association, also known as the Home of Veterans, located at Defence Ministry Avenue, Akuregoda, Battaramulla. State Minister for Social Empowerment Anupa Pasquale on Tuesday emphasized that new laws are being introduced to facilitate the use of uncultivated land for agricultural purposes, as land is vital for social empowerment. The State Minister also announced that the government has decided to incorporate a skill or professional stream into the GCE ordinary level examination to promote social empowerment. The State Minister made these remarks during a press briefing titled Collective Path to a Stable Country, held at the Presidential Media Centre. That ends local news.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe said regardless of race, religion, caste or political affiliations, all Sri Lankans must unite to heal and rebuild the country. In his Vesak message, the President said, "We must remember the advice of Lord Buddha, Sabbabhatta Sammanaso, to treat everyone equally and ensure we put it into practice as a country. This is the greatest offering we can present to the Buddha on this Vesak day." The Vesak festival is a profoundly sacred day for Buddhists worldwide, commemorating the Buddha's birth, enlightenment and passing away. Buddhists in Sri Lanka, along with their brethren around the globe, celebrate Vesak with deep devotion. They spend this period engaging in religious observances and venerating the Buddha with fervent devotion. That came to you in Main News.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Mahatmya.
Moving on to Watchlight. The Ceylon Electricity Board has reported over 36,900 breakdowns resulting in power interruptions to more than 300,000 consumers in the last 3 days due to inclement weather. Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara said that additional service staff has been assigned to attend the breakdowns. Posting on X, the minister stated that the CEB management and service staff are working 24 hours to restore power to the affected consumers, and meanwhile, Wijesekara also expressed that if the consumers are unable to report power interruptions through the CEB hotline 1987, they can use the SMS option to 1987 with breakdown and the electricity consumer number to follow. Use the CEB Care app or through cebcare.ceb.lk. That came to you in Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Taking a look at the headlines of the world news, 9 killed in Mexico, stage collapse at campaign event. Sunak and Starmer hit UK campaign trail after shock election call. Thousands march in Iran to mourn Raisi on final day of funeral rites. Now the world news in detail. A stage collapsed at a Mexican election campaign rally on Wednesday, killing 9 people and injuring dozens as high winds tore apart the large concert-style structure, scattering politicians and attendees. Around 50 people were injured at the rally for the Citizens Movement Party in the northern Mexican state of Nuevo León, and Samuel Garcia, the state's governor, said on social media. The victims were 8 adults and 1 child, Garcia said, adding he was headed to a hospital where 3 people were in surgery. Many of the injured were being treated at local clinics, the director of Mexico's Social Security Institute reported. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his Labour Party rival Keir Starmer kicked off their election campaigns on Thursday, each arguing that only they can snap the country out of its economy and political malaise. Sunak, whose Conservatives have trailed Labour Party around 20 percentage points in opinion polls since he became Prime Minister in October 2022, shocked and angered many in his party when he gambled by calling a July 4th election months earlier than expected. Thousands have marched in Iran for the final day of the funeral rites for the President Ebrahim Raisi, who died in a helicopter crash early this week. Raisi, 63, died on Sunday alongside his foreign minister and 6 others when their helicopter crashed in the country's mountainous northwest while returning from a dam inauguration. Thousands of people holding placards of Raisi and waving flags marched in the eastern city of Birzand on Thursday morning to bid him farewell. Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Khomeini, who announced 5 days of mourning for those who died in the crash, led prayers in Tehran on Wednesday for Raisi's funeral. That ends World News. Prior to concluding, the headlines of the World News once again. 9 killed in Mexico stage collapse at campaign event. Sunak and Starmer hit UK campaign trail after shock election call. Thousands march in Iran to mourn Raisi on final day of funeral rites. That ends World News.
Development News.
In response to the delays in several high-profile urban development projects like Colombo Hyatt Hotel, State Minister for Urban Development and Housing, Arundhika Fernandes, said if an appropriate investor does not emerge, the government is prepared to proceed with completion with the assistance of the armed forces with financing from the Treasury. He noted that valuable government land had been allocated for ventures such as the Colombo Hyatt Hotel, Creche and Destiny projects. However, investors have abandoned these projects, leaving them incomplete. That came to you in Development News.
Moving on with sports news.
Asian relay gold medalists Aruna Darshana and Kalinga Kumarage will be closely following the Road to Paris 24 Olympics ranking during the next few weeks as they aspire to secure tickets to the quadrennial event in Paris. Darshana, who was scheduled to return yesterday evening after winning 2 medals at the Asian Relays in Thailand, will leave for 2 competitions in China and Taiwan on Friday. Darshana, who won the 4x400 meters gold and the mixed relay silver at the first ever Asian Relays, is the closest Sri Lankan to an Olympic berth, as he is currently ranked 51st in the Road to Paris 24 rankings maintained by World Athletics. He needs to secure and maintain a position within the top 48 in the Road to Paris 24 rankings before the qualifying period expires on June 30th. That came to you in Sports News.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීර හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Business leaders and authorities in the financial sector yesterday welcomed the introduction of the Unified Payments Interface transactions through Lanka QR for Indian tourists in Sri Lanka at a time when digital payments are witnessing a surge in adoption within the country. Commenting on the launch, they said it can revolutionize the tourist experience by providing a seamless payment solution. The Sri Lankan business community, regardless of the scale of the business, can join the Lanka QR system easily by communicating with their banks, either state-owned or private. That came to you in Business News.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු වීර හැබැයි කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Moving on to economic news. State Minister for Urban Development and Housing, Arundhika Fernandes, announced that the state enterprises are now open to private sector investments, but only at the government's assessed value. This directive aligns with President Ranil Wickremesinghe's instruction that state enterprises should not be offered for private sector investments below their assessed value. State Minister Fernandes highlighted the revival of regional development projects that were previously halted due to economic difficulties. That came to you in Economic News.
Weather report.
Finally, we take a look at the weather report. Due to the southwest monsoon condition, the prevailing showery and windy conditions are expected to continue. Showers or thundershowers will occur at times in the western, Sabragamua, central, northwestern, southern and northern provinces. Very heavy showers, about 150 millimeters, are likely at some places in the Sabragamua province and in Kandy and Nuwara Eliya districts. Heavy showers above 100 millimeters are likely at some places in western and northwestern provinces and in Mannar, Gaul and Mathura districts. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places elsewhere of the island. Strong winds of about 50 to 60 kilometers per hour can be expected at times over western slopes of the central hills and in the northern, north central, western, southern and northwestern provinces and in Trincomalee district. Fairly strong winds about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour can be expected at times elsewhere of the island. That was the weather report. Prior to concluding this bulletin of news, the headlines once again.